Woman allegedly killed her three children. So why would hundreds of women show up outside the courthouse in support of her, want pictures with her lawyer, and raise over $1 million in support of her? This is the case of Lindsay, Clancy, and man, this is as twisted as it gets. There are now hundreds of conspiracies floating all over the internet. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, or at least the original narrative. So this goes back to January of 2023. Around 5:15 p.m., Lindsay's husband Patrick left their home to pick up medication for one of their children and grab dinner. When Patrick returned at around 6:09 p.m., he said the house was completely quiet and he couldn't find his wife or children. He eventually found his wife Lindsay seriously injured outside after she had apparently jumped from a second-story window. When Patrick asked where the kids were, Lindsay told him they were in the basement. That's where Patrick found their three children, Cora, 5 years old, Dawson, 3, and Callan, just 8 months old, unconscious. Exercise bands were found around their necks, and all three children ultimately died from strangulation. Lindsay survived the fall, but she was left paralyzed from the waist down. So why are so many people defending her? Her attorneys argue that Lindsay was suffering from severe postpartum mental illness and psychosis and couldn't understand the wrongfulness of what she was doing or control her actions. They also point out that Lindsay had already been seeking psychiatric help before the killings. Now her supporters believe she knew something was seriously wrong, she tried to get help, and ultimately was failed by the mental health system. But there's a completely different theory spreading all over the internet. Some people believe Lindsay didn't kill these children. It was her husband, Patrick, and Patrick framed her. Well, why are they saying this? They're pointing to what they believe are suspicious details involving his timeline, behavior, and what happened afterward. To be clear, there's currently no established evidence proving Patrick killed the children, and Lindsay's own attorneys aren't even making this argument in court, but the theory has gotten so big that thousands of people online are now questioning the original story. And once you see what they're pointing to, you'll understand why this conspiracy has taken off, and that's what I'm going to be covering in part 2.
They'll always find a way to blame it on the man, right? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, society is heading in a real dangerous position. Now, first and foremost, this Lindsay Clancy situation we have here is horrific. And of course, they're trying to come up with all kind of conspiracies to pretty much deflect on what's going on. What's going on is you have a whole lot of feminists and sadists that are rallying together behind this individual who is accused of murdering her three children. And for the record, to be clear about this postpartum thing, right? Let's just talk about that briefly. No, I'm not a female. No, I don't know what it's like to have a baby. Yes, I do understand that women have hormonal imbalances after having a child. However, there's a difference between postpartum and straight up demon possession. Demon possession. See, postpartum wasn't even invented. Yeah, it was invented by a French psychologist by the name of Louis Victor Mars, who published an extensive monograph with a series of tests that he ran with 79 women. People was not murdering their babies and screaming postpartum until around that time, ladies and gentlemen, until around 1858. Before then, you wasn't hearing about people crashing out like that on their children. See, demon possession is real. And if somebody is sitting up there telling themselves, oh, I got postpartum, I got mental health, oh, my hormones are off, then listen, the demons are going to come for you. And the devil hates life. The devil hates every time one of the Most High's creations is born. So what the devil want you to do is take your child out, or abandon your child, or disregard your child, not want to care for it, because these are some of the things women do. And then they'll say, well, it's postpartum. No, No. Yeah, that it's satanic. It's demon possession. That's what it is. And now you got these women and some sadists. They're doing some things in petition of Lindsay Clancy that we got to look at, ladies and gentlemen. Not only did they raise $1 million for this woman, $1 million, but also some of the things that they're doing publicly, the people that are becoming a cult-like following to this woman, the things they're doing is extremely insane, right? So we're going to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring some light to this story. As you enter the broadcast, make sure you get the likes up. This is not normally a time that I would stream, so let's make sure we're able to send the notifications out. I definitely had to speak on this particular story. With no further ado, let's get to it.
Nubreed. They working against us. They hate our souls. They hate us. They hate our righteous indignation. They hate the exaltation that dwells in us. They hate our love for the They hate our convictions. They hate the fact that we repented. They hate the fact that we truthful, honest, and bold. They hate our courage. Them devils hate us. We're not finna line ourselves up with these weirdos and freaks. With these weirdos and freaks. They working against us. They hate our souls. Weirdos and freaks. But these weirdos and freaks, they working against us. They hate our souls. Nubreed.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. I see you brothers and sisters rolling in the chat. What's going on? Tania, Grace Hills in the building. Shawnee Wayne. Hello, hello. I see y'all. Deandra Stubblefield, Empress is in the house. We got Mission 1971. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, something deeply disturbing is happening in society today. I mean, every now and then there's these stories that happen that make you sit back and think, like, where is society actually headed? What exactly is happening today? And, you know, this Lindsay Clancy situation, that definitely proposes that question for myself. We're talking about a woman accused of killing her 3 young children, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, back in 2023. And now 3 years later, we're watching something develop. Something that is astonishing. We're talking about hundreds of people gathering outside the courthouse to support this woman, people rallying for her on social media, a fundraiser that has reached more than $1 million. $1 million. This points to something very ominous and daunting about these feminists, these sadists, some of these people in middle America are nothing short of demonic. And I believe that they want to have the right to eliminate their children. I believe that's how dark it is. I believe that this is a deep agenda for them to have the right to commit infanticide in a ritualistic, sacrificial way. And they're using crowdfunding to expose what their true nature is. And not only that, some of the damn things they're doing on social media, y'all gonna see some wild stuff, y'all. The people who are supporting her, y'all gonna be like, what in the hell is going on? It's like the weirdos and freaks are tired of hiding. They're tired of hiding. It's like they're coming out full-fledged. And when I tell you that this is Babylon, this is a Sodom and Egypt spirit on this in this land, that is something dark, and they're using crowdfunding as a weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you the truth. Now,
This woman allegedly
hold on, we went over that one, but I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna give y'all some demonstrations of what's going on. Hello? Okay. Well, we had a little glitch on my end, but you know, they're gonna try to stop the truth from coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, can y'all? Okay. So now it's trying to glitch out on my end because I'm telling the truth. Welcome to the home of truth,
killed her 3 children.
Welcome to the home of truth, Max.
So I'm gonna delete my last post because I think I moved with haste, or I said it wrong.
All right, his audio is terrible.
You guys raised a woman $800,000 after she took the life of her kids? With an exercise ban that her and her attorney admitted she did. But y'all say y'all understand her?
Not because we cannot hold women accountable. Many of us see ourselves in Lindsay. Many of us know that we could have been only one step away from doing some of those horrific things.
You're a therapist! So you shawty's just openly online admitting that you support Lindsay and what she did because
We have therapists supporting Lindsay on what she did. They said that they felt that way. Now, see, look, the demons are exposing themselves, especially these middle America white tea women. They're really exposing who they are, ladies and gentlemen. This is clearly a demon-possessed woman. Look, you can look at her eyes. The light's on. Ain't nobody home. That's a 50-yard stare that woman got. Any psychologist should see a 50-yard stare. Somebody who is completely demented. Understand that postpartum is a concept that came from a French psychologist back in the mid 1800s. But watch this, ladies and gentlemen. This is insanity right here. And yes, the lawyer admitted, you know, the guy before he was coming up with all these conspiracies, and the women are following the conspiracies. The feminist women are following the conspiracies to somehow blame the man. That's what it's about. They're blaming men for what this woman did. But watch this.
because you could have done the same thing. Bro, lock all these shawties up. Saying you understand why she did that to her kids while you're holding your kid is crazy. Postpartum is not an excuse for you to do those type of things to your kids. No. I swear to God, bro, I could have been president or something, bro. I would have definitely made FBI do an investigation on every single person that sent shawty money, bro. We need to make sure that your kids are safe. Y'all really out here all coming together because you believe that you would have did the same thing to your kids?
Ladies and gentlemen, America is going to have a mass ritual sacrifice of children if something is not done. I don't see a way of sanitizing this land. And bro is right. Anybody who sent this woman anything should be under investigation. We got women holding their children. Some of the demonstrations they're doing with children in the room, like y'all gonna see some of this stuff and be like, it's unbelievable. is absolutely incredibly disturbing that what GoFundMe is allowing it. Like, why? It's crazy because you'll have Carmelo Anthony's GoFundMe get shut down. You'll have people criticizing the GoFundMes when a young black child is taken out or somebody dies, and they're trying to raise money for legal proceedings, or any of those type of things, like the Nolan Wells case and many more. You'll have people criticize that, but they don't say nothing about the fact that Shiloh Hendricks raised damn near $1 million for calling a little black kid all kind of racial obscenities. They don't say nothing about Chud the Builder being able to raise all that money after he, went out and pow-powed a black man outside of a courthouse. You don't see nobody saying, you don't see these people criticizing this right here, where these sadists are crowdfunding $1 million because they really want the right to be able to execute their children. These are barbarians. These are the seed of Nephilim. When we talk about YT supremacy, you got to understand that there's sadists involved. And they are all about sacrifice and rituals. They're bloodthirsty. They're not even human.
Y'all need to be in jail. You guys raised a woman $800,000 after she took.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is insane.
If you are online at all right now, you're probably seeing the name Lindsay Clancy and information about her ongoing trial. Now, I wasn't going to cover this case as I am currently 4 months postpartum, and it is very triggering. So I want to give a trigger warning. We will be talking about postpartum depression, anxiety, psychosis. We will be talking about suicidal ideation and the death of children. But I think it's important to share about this because I think it is bigger than just this case. There is such a huge lack of postpartum care, especially in America, and this needs to be talked about more. So I am officially going to be covering the case, and in this video, I'm going to go over a timeline of what happened in the case, and then in my next videos, I'll go over more of the details. Patrick and Lindsay Clancy met in 2013, married in 2016, and were living in Duxbury, Massachusetts, where Lindsay worked as an L&D nurse and Patrick worked in telecommunications. They had their first child, Cora, in December 2017, and then in 2019, their second child, Dawson, was born, and in May 2022, their third child, Callan, was born. Lindsay seemed to be doing okay to the outside world after giving birth to Callan, but by the end of late summer and early fall of 2022, her mental health was starting to deteriorate. Now, like I said, I'm going to go through more of the details of what she was experiencing, the medication.
Listen, there's a person in my chat that just says maybe the woman was overwhelmed. See, this is what's wrong with society right now. Listen, some of you all are going to expose yourselves in my chat, and we already starting to see it. Listen, let me be clear. I understand that a person can experience catastrophic psychological breakdown. I understand that. But there's a line that society has to be very careful not to cross. Understanding that somebody's condition cannot become the romanticization of what happens. Because whether somebody is mentally ill or not, without allowing the victims to become secondary characters in their own deaths, is important. 3 children were murdered. And you say maybe the woman was overwhelmed. The woman wasn't overwhelmed when she decided to get impregnated. She wasn't overwhelmed when she was having the sex it took to make the babies. See, people got to get their spiritual health right. People always want to blame mental health in these things on the things they do. Don't you know that's what the devil wants you to do? Mental health in itself has demonic implications. What I mean by that is when your mental health deteriorates, it has demonic implications. But see, since God is not in this country, y'all just make excuses for everything. The woman murdered her 3 children. See, the person who just said that is prone to donate to this woman. Crazy, boy, craziness.
she was prescribed and the help she sought out in another video. But for now, just know that over several months at the end of 2022, she was experiencing severe anxiety, depression, obsessive thoughts, and insomnia. She spoke with several psychiatrists and therapists and was prescribed a variety of medications to try to help her insomnia and mental health. But unfortunately, nothing was really working, and despite her voicing that she needed help and her telling her husband she feared she would harm her children, she was severely undertreated. On January 1st, 2023, Lindsay voluntarily admitted herself to McLean Hospital for psychiatric treatment. She was discharged after several days, and the prosecution has said she was cured, but the defense has said she was not. January 2023 continued, and Lindsay was preparing to return back to work. But before she could, tragedy would strike. On January 24th, 2023, the family woke up like normal, and then in the late morning, Lindsay had a telehealth visit with a psychiatrist. What exactly happened at that appointment has not been fully reported, but it has been pointed out by prosecutors who argue that she did not report psychotic symptoms during this visit. Around 3 p.m. on January 24th, Lindsay left the house to run an errand and then came back and sent Patrick out to run to pick up a prescription for Cora from CVS and take out food from the nearby 3V restaurant. Patrick left and Lindsay was home alone with 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. The CVS was about 3 minutes away from their house, and 3V, the restaurant she sent Patrick to, was 12 to 15 minutes away. The prosecution has claimed that Lindsay sending Patrick out was part of a plan. If you are online at all right now, you're probably...
Yes, this is insane, ladies and gentlemen. And, postpartum psychosis, as I said before, it is a new concept. Before the early 1850s, nobody was offing their children and saying, that's just postpartum. Y'all got to understand, these psychiatrists, more often than not, they be involved in the craft. A lot of them be witches, warlocks, and wizards. And, a lot of psychiatrists be operating on the left-hand side, and they be coming up with these concepts that allow people to project. You got to understand, the Bible says we battle not against flesh and blood, but wickedness and principalities. I'm not here to say that people don't suffer or struggle with mental health at all. But what we got to understand is, the way society has projected these spells on people must be understood. Your mind is a powerful thing. If you're sitting there telling yourself you're deteriorating, I'm losing my mind. Oh man, I got postpartum. You start looking at your children sideways, then you need to fight spiritually. Something's going on with your soul. The woman murked her children, and now there's a lot of middle American women, a lot of white tea women as well, are rallying behind this Lindsay Clancy. And that is extremely dangerous, because I'm going to show you how the Satanists and the sadistic individuals have slipped in the cracks. I'm going to show y'all. It's some bizarre things that they're doing. We're going to get to that. Matter of fact, let's show y'all. Let me give you an example of some of the things they're doing as demonstrations, so you can see just how damn terrifying America can become. I'm going to turn this down because it looked like they got copyright music. Let's go.
Have we actually ruled out the possibility of demon possession here? Because I'm trying to find another explanation that makes sense. And postpartum issues and the struggles of motherhood just really aren't doing it for me. I mean, we have literally had women lining up outside of the courthouse and waving and cheering for Lindsay Clancy as she shows up for her murder trial. And then we've had women going, oh, I can totally identify with wanting to strangle your kids. Let me go chuck some ice in my shower and film it. And now it's just rage screaming like a psychopath. Ladies, get your bat crap crazy selves under control right now. This is embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. Your husband should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. If you truly think that you can identify with Lindsay Clancy because you're hearing voices in your head telling you to kill your children, then you are a danger to yourself and others, and you should be locked up in the funny farm right there alongside her. Otherwise, spank your inner toddler, cut this mess out, and go be a mom, you freaking lunatics. I mean, for crap's sake, y'all.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, real talk. Check y'all asses in somewhere and stay there. Because this is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't no way around it. Listen, if y'all can sit down and enjoy the sex and then have these children, and then see, I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's simple as this. They don't want to stand up to their responsibilities. Simple as that. If you don't want to be a mother, don't go out here doing what you do. Don't go get married. Don't do none of that. Straight up.
This woman told her husband to leave the house, and then she proceeded to murder her kids. Women are supporting her and saying it's the husband's fault. When will we become accountable for our own actions? This woman told her husband to leave the house, and then she proceeded to murder her kids. Women are supporting her and saying it's the husband.
See, this is what happens when, you know, society curates an environment where women don't have accountability, where they feel like they can get away with anything, where they feel like, you know, that they always have an escape route. They'll blame the man, they'll blame society, they'll blame the mental health institutions, blame everyone but themselves. And the fact that they have a lot of them have lack of spiritual awareness. And we're getting to see this on a mass scale and how dangerous this can become. This is supposed to be the mothers of our here culture, our society. Listen, wrap your mind around this. They're now banding together, trying to make excuses to why they should be able to commit infancy when you really put it out there. Or infanticide.
The Lindsay Clancy case has to be one of the most perfect examples of you can literally do one of the most horrendous things somebody could do. And somehow there are women out there, a lot of women, that are still like, this is the husband's fault. This is her doctor's fault. For those who do not know, this woman strangled her 3 children to death. Young children, below the ages of 10, I believe. And the defense that the lawyers are going with is she was suffering from severe postpartum depression and wasn't in her right mind. And now, who knows? That could be true. But, you know, she still murdered 3 children. And do you not think serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, Nicholas Cruz, you think these people were mentally stable? Do they get a pass because, you know, they just mentally weren't right? But there are comments like this. I think the husband set all of this up to start over. He couldn't care less about her, already remarried and start a new family. She murdered 3 of his children, bro. Her husband and doctors need jail time as well. They failed her. She murdered 3 children. This is the most like sound comment, and this is still like baffling. She's clearly mentally unwell and has been grossly failed by everybody around her. However, she did commit the most heinous of crimes, so she does need to be sentenced to something. And she also needs to get help. It's a mess all around, but she definitely wasn't well when she did what she did. Almost every serial killer, every mass killer, isn't mentally well when it's going on. Why does this one deserve a pass? This infantilization that we do to women is insane. I can understand, and obviously I'm, never been pregnant, but some things, a little bit too far. And I would argue, murdering your 3 children, that is one of them. So go click the case if you want to go see. Maybe I'm missing some things out, but wow, disgusting. The Lindsay Clancy.
Absolutely. And, I want to say something here. And everybody do me a solid, get the likes up on the stream. Because, everybody wants to pigeonhole the conversation to the conditions of her mentality that could have resulted in her actually murdering her children. But I want to ask like a deeper question. And my question is, what happens when a human mind becomes vulnerable to darkness? When a human mind accepts demons and you give access to malevolent forces and you open your spirit for evil, because you'll have the medical community say that it's just hormone changes, sleep deprivation, psychosis, bipolar disorder, postpartum, postpartum psychosis. All of these are just fancy names for demon possession. I'm not denying that women experience profound physical and psychological changes during childbirth. I have delivered, for those who don't know, I've delivered 2 children myself. I'm talking about delivered them, cut the umbilical cord. I've done that. I understand the hormonal changes, the loss of blood, the recovery process. So I can speak on this from a perspective of someone who have witnessed the miracle of childbirth and what the woman goes through. You know what I'm saying? But however, this conversation has turned into something way darker because now they're trying to make excuses. Because medicine can describe symptoms, like they can describe symptoms. But describing symptoms of something doesn't necessarily tell you the source of where it's coming from. And really, it's coming from darkness. It's coming from evil. So when I look at something horrific like this, a mother destroying the very same children that they carried for 9 months, I ain't going to sit up here and say that's hormones. Like, where have we went as a society where that can happen and we be like, oh, that was just hormones? Do we realize how insane that is? No. I consider the spiritual dimensions of things, because there's a difference between experiencing a biological change and being consumed by destructive thoughts, voices, delusion, hatred, confusion, impulses that drive somebody towards unimaginable destruction. And look, I believe the modern world has become committed to explaining everything materially. We forgot that spiritual darkness exists. Even when we see the results of not following Christ, of not digging in your scriptures, of not fasting, of not praying, of not seeking spiritual counsel, not just going to medicine, not just going to a psychiatrist. Listen, they all trying to get paid. Everything got to have a chemical explanation, a psychological explanation, a neurological explanation. Scripture has never told us that the physical world only exists. Never told us that. Never told us that everything you see is what you get. The Bible never told you that. It's supposed to be a Christian society, right? The Bible repeatedly describes deception, temptation, spiritual oppression, demonic influence, and spiritual warfare is a huge part of what Christ spoke about. Now, and I ain't saying every woman that pretty much experienced postpartum depression is demonically influenced. Hormonal imbalance happen. But I'm saying, to be much more specific, when evil manifests itself through the destruction of innocent children, I believe that society have a responsibility to ask spiritual questions instead of trying to point and deflect and shift the blame to damn medicine and counselors and psychology.
I want y'all to watch her video and then I want to respond, because I don't like the narrative that she's trying to put out about the situation that took place today in Minnesota.
I'm literally about to crash out.
Hold on, that's not the one. My bad. Let's go.
Two mothers took their children's life and both claimed severe mental illness, and they both even had the same judge. Stories went very differently. Let's get into it real quick. This is LaTarsha Sanders from Massachusetts. And in 2018, she took her two young sons' life. Just like Lindsay Clancy, the question in her case wasn't whether or not she did it. Her defense argued that she suffered from severe mental illness, so wasn't criminally responsible for what she did. Her family, just like Lindsay's family, says that before all of that happened, she was kind of just acting strange and not like herself. LaTarsha thought the Illuminati was after her and her children. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found to have had mental illness for a while now that was untreated and undiagnosed. She was convicted of 2 counts of first degree taking her kid's life. You know, on social media, you can't say certain words, and was given 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. But it gets interesting because those convictions were just overturned, like earlier August, so she'll be getting a new trial. Massachusetts highest court ruled that thousands of pages of psychiatric records that could have helped the jury understand her mental state were improperly kept out of her first trial. And the judge in that trial is Judge William Sullivan, the same judge presiding over Lindsay Clancy's trial right now. Are we watching Lindsay's trial and having all these conversations about psychosis, mental illness, and whether a mother's mental state changed how we view what they did? Remember LaTarsha, when her trial comes around, I want to see these same conversations. If we're going to give these mothers grace because of mental illness,
man, listen, they not even being racist about this. They want, I believe that there is a satanic cabal that is trying to blow a dog whistle and allow women to know that they can get away with murdering their children. Y'all got to understand that there was conversations on the table when it came to abortion, you know, doing abortions at 8 and 9 months. Look, there's a depopulation agenda, and there's demons running wild that want to carry out these rituals and sacrifices. Philip, thank you for the support, says, men or the lack thereof is the problem. Somebody sent me, I'm going to just show you. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it how men is always the problem in a situation where women are doing something wrong. I don't understand, y'all. I don't get that it's that hard to hold women accountable and just say that these women are disturbed, they need spiritual health. There's no way that Philip just sent me that to say that. There's absolutely no way. Wow. This is a different time than I normally stream, and it's in the daytime. And I'm surprised, you know, some of the things that people are saying. But nonetheless, we're going to stay on the righteous side, right? It's men's fault again for what this woman did. You can't make this up. You can't make it up.
Every single man needs to be watching what is currently going on with this murder trial, not the trial itself. And I'm talking about the woman who killed her 3 children. You need to be watching how women are acting on social media, the videos they're making, and how they're acting in the comments when somebody doesn't agree with them. Because it's somebody who has survived, we can call it narcissistic abuse, false allegations. It's a pattern. It's familiar. I've seen this all before. The women that are losing their minds are abusive women, women that will put false allegations on you, women that will drive you into a place where you don't want to be here anymore. And they've been attacking me for days, and it's getting old. Normal human beings don't lose their mind when somebody doesn't agree with them. They either walk away or they have a conversation. They don't attack them. They don't insult them. They don't threaten them. They don't tell them they should die. That's not normal behavior. If you're a man who's currently in a relationship with a woman like this, going through a divorce or thinking about it, go to the link in my bio and grab Unmasking the Predator. I wrote that after I dealt with everything that I've dealt with over the last few years, and I profiled all cluster B personality disorders to show men what to look out for, how to deal with it, and how to detach from it so you don't lose everything. Link in the bio.
Right. You do got to pay attention to how women are responding to this situation, because that shows a destructive nature, it shows an abusive nature. This woman's GoFundMe went to $1 million. They raised $1 million for a woman who murdered her children. And guess who raised the money for her? Other women. Other women. And simultaneously, they're blaming the man. That man had moved on with his life. He's trying to forget the horrific experience he went through. And that man has to be blamed. And even though there's no legitimate evidence pointing towards that man doing anything, all he did was go to the store. He tried to get her all the mental support she needed. But what he is guilty of is not having the spiritual insight to get away from her sooner. That's the only thing he's guilty of, is not getting away from her sooner. Because if that man would have got him and his children away, they'd be alive. And I'm pretty sure he's seen telltale signs. This is what women are doing to demonstrate support for Lindsay, losing a rabid ass mind. And y'all don't see this as demon possession? Look at this. Look at it. Sitting there crying in front of the baby. They're throwing some weird demonstration they're doing where they're throwing ice into the bathtub, screaming out of their damn minds. Look at this.
I deserve to be freaking heard. So fucking tired.
I am completely overwhelmed.
Yo, fellas, from all walks of life, be careful who you impregnate. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Guard your seeds. Guard your seeds. They all YT women, by the way. These all YT women. So this ain't right now. I'm not talking about the sisters right now. The sisters, I don't see no sisters participating in this. These are all YT women. So don't nobody get offended. And all of the YT women who are not like this, you don't get offended either. But damn it, I have a wide audience of all people from all walks of life. I mean, to be doing these demonstrations with their children in the videos is crazy. Crazy work.
Trying to take care of the kids. I'm drowning every day. It's miserable. Like, I'm desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone.
Okay, guys, this is bat crap crazy. It just is. This isn't about postpartum hormones or the struggles of motherhood or parsing out the legal definition of insanity in a criminal trial. You can have questions over how culpable Lindsay Clancy was in her actions and still not venerate her like a saint. This is absolutely bizarre. This is women taking the time to set up a camera in their bathroom and chuck ice into their shower or beat a pillow against a wall or whatever in some grand show of their maternal suffering.
They're beating pillows against the wall. These women are probably thinking about putting their babies in them pillowcases, y'all.
Nothing about that is real. This is performative nonsense being done for internet clout, and I'm calling it out.
America has lost its rabbit ass mind, bro. Where the hell are we headed now? This can't be real. Look at this. So, Florida woman films herself starting a fire in her kitchen and pouring hot wax on her children. Of course, I'm not going to play the video. But listen, infanticide is going up. We got it blurred out and everything, but I'm trying to show you that there's actual women that are bugging out and they're sacrificing their children. They're losing it. It's already starting, and they're filming this. When I tell you Babylon is headed for destruction, listen, this is crazy.
I know what I meant. I wrote that, but you're misinterpreting my note.
And you told us repeatedly that you never detected that Lindsay had pressured speech, right?
Correct.
October 21st of 22, is that correct, right up there?
Not hyper pressured speech.
What was that? Not hyper what?
Not hyper, not pressured speech is what I meant. I know it doesn't say not, but that is exactly what I meant.
Wait, when did you see this that you noticed that it did not say not?
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant.
Well, when you wrote this, you did not say not pressured speech. You said in the medical record, pressured speech, right?
No.
Does it say that?
Yeah, the word is the word not.
Even her attorney is bugged the hell out. Even Lindsay's attorney is bugged out. She in there saying, look, I said it, but I meant to say this. So you accept what I said, what I meant to say. You accept what I meant to say. Even though you're holding a record to me, showing me what was put in this trial. You're not, it's like you don't have the right to call me out on my imperfections or my mistakes. This is the mind frame of these women. You don't have these you know, these entitled women. You don't have the right to call me out on my mistakes. Let's see. Inspire says, my white mother was a psychopath and no one believed me. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, y'all.
The women defending Lindsay Clancy claiming that postpartum psychosis, which Lindsay Clancy was not diagnosed with, justifies taking the life of your...
And she was not diagnosed with postpartum, by the way. So the doctor she went to, you know, everything she did, they seen her and they said, ma'am, we can't even prove your hormonal imbalances. So these women out here crashing out, and she was never diagnosed with postpartum. Let's go.
Innocent children are basically saying that women are, number one, too hormonal to be trusted with responsibility or agency, let alone accountability for their actions. And number two, they're holding a double standard where a woman can be absolved from the most heinous of acts, but a man who also is hormonally driven through testosterone cannot be absolved when that testosterone leads him to commit disproportionate violent crimes against women or society in general. And that double standard further showcases a lack of acting from principle and rather acting from emotion, which once again is classically the reason why women were not trusted with agency. The women defending Lindsay Clancy claiming that postpartum
Yeah, you know, the biggest takeaway from her dialogue is that she was never even diagnosed. So you got people sitting here saying that, you know, the medical industry failed her. No. That ain't even the case.
Here's a quick recap of everything that's happened so far in the Lindsay Clancy trial up to today. Today is day 16. Yesterday,
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, get the likes up on the video, get the likes up on the stream. This is a very important stream because we can see where this is headed, where this is leading society. When we see a rise in infanticide in the next year from now, then you're going to be able to come back to this video and say, Bree predicted this, that there's going to be a rise in infanticide. They raised $1 million for her. That's going to go towards something, ladies and gentlemen. Just like they got crowdfunded racism going on all over social media. And we need to really, GoFundMe needs to be held accountable, man. This is crazy.
the prosecution rested, and today defense has continued calling its witnesses. This heartbreaking case involves 3 young children, Cora, who was 5, Dawson, who was 3, and Callan, who was only 8 months old. Lindsay is a 35-year-old nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts, who was always known as a loving, wonderful mother. Unfortunately, she suffered with extreme mental health issues due to postpartum after she had her 3rd child, Callan. In the months leading up to that tragic night on January 24th of 2023, Lindsay had been doing everything she possibly could to get help for her increasing postpartum symptoms. She was suffering insomnia, depression, extreme anxiety. Her husband Patrick was trying to do what he could, but neither of them were getting the help that she so desperately needed. She even checked herself into a psychiatric facility. Patrick was married to Lindsay, and he's the father of those 3 beautiful children.
I want to ask this. Where does the postpartum argument stop? Where does it stop? Where is the lines drawn? Because we're reaching a point in society where that is like becoming the complete explanation. A woman commits murder. She kills, let's say she kills 10 children. She had 1 baby, but already had, here's the thing as well. Let me point this out. She already had 3 children. Well, let's say a woman had 10 children. She already has experience with having 10 children. Then the last baby comes and she just murders all her children. Some of her children are grown. Let's just go there. Some of her children, let's see how far this can go. All right. A woman has a baby, but she already got 9 other children. Some of her children are adults. She goes murders the adults. Postpartum, right? She kills all the babies and kills her adult children, her adults. Postpartum, she just needed help. She was mentally ill. And now the discussion just shifted from the children and the adults and anybody involved. Ladies and gentlemen, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Innocent children deserve protection, man. Simple as that. That's absolute insanity, right? When you really put things in a perspective, it's crazy.
Patrick and Lindsay are now divorced, and in May of 2023, Patrick packed up his whole life and moved to New York to start over. After about a year of living there, he met his current wife, Rachel. They dated for 2 years, and they just got married this past April in 2026, and they do not have any children. On the evening of January 24th, 2023, Patrick left his home for a little under an hour and went to pick out takeout food for he and Lindsay. He also stopped at a pharmacy to pick up something for the kids, and when he got home, he found Lindsay laying on the ground outside. She had tried to take her own life. He called 911, and when he entered the home, he found his 3 young children deceased in the basement. Lindsay had sent Patrick out of the home and has now claimed that she heard voices that night telling her to do what she ended up doing. She used exercise bands to strangle her 3 young kids, and once that was done, she went upstairs and tried to take her own life. She slit her wrists, her throat, crushed up pills and took them, and then jumped out the 2nd floor window. Lindsay is now paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Lindsay was charged with 3 counts of murder and pled not guilty. Lindsay has admitted to taking the lives of her 3 young children with exercise bands, but instead, this case is now focusing on intent and culpability. The prosecution in this case is arguing that Lindsay did this with intent, that it was malicious and premeditated. The defense is basically using an insanity defense. They're arguing that Lindsay is not criminally responsible for this because of postpartum psychosis that she was experiencing, an undiagnosed condition of bipolar, and they believe that she was over-medicated due to a failure in the medical system.
Wow, I'm going to say this. I believe the enemy's greatest weapon is deception. If Satan can convince a person that destruction is justified, he just distorted reality. If he can convince somebody that innocent life has become the enemy, then the results are going to be catastrophic. You know what the scriptures tell us? In John 10:10, the thief come to kill, steal, and destroy. Think about that. He come to steal, kill, and destroy. That's the language of spiritual warfare. And when the results is just that, destruction, loss of life, loss of innocent life, then you already know that it's spiritual warfare. And that's why I refuse to reduce every horrific manifestation to be, human behavior and biology alone. Because at the end of the day, human beings are more than just chemicals and hormones and brain activity. We are spiritual beings. If you carry out something on this planet, your spirit created a physical manifestation of what lies dormant in you. And if we're going to have an honest conversation about the darkness we witness in society today, we know that time is running out. And this is something that modern medicine can't fix. You can't sanitize this with the medicine or modern psychology. Yeah, this is deeper than that. America's going into darkness. You see what these women are doing to protest? They are clearly possessed. And, instead of these women being mothers, tending to their children, they just don't want to take accountability and they want to carry out their evil. That's all it is. And, of course, there was, we're not going to make this exactly racist specific, because like I showed y'all a couple years ago, there was a melanated woman that did the same thing to her children, and she's fighting, trying to get out. And so they don't care what race you are. They want you to feel like you have the right to do such a thing. Why? Because it's a depopulation agenda. Why? Because demons are all manifesting all over the place. We're living in the last days. This Babylonian structure is deteriorating morally. And it's the type of conversation I thought I would draw some awareness to, because it's a sickness, man. And when people can't distinguish between right and wrong, I even had people in my chat saying it's the man's fault. I had people in my chat saying, well, maybe the woman was overwhelmed. Like, just the fact that you able to fix your damn mouth and say that, you clearly don't understand what's happening spiritually. And it's actually a crying shame.
If you are online at all right now, you're probably seeing
a so-called devoted mom, Lindsay Clancy, her 3 tots found strangled dead with mommy's exercise bands. I don't want a witch hunt where she is put behind bars when she truly was in psychosis. On the other hand, I don't want her hiding behind a psychosis claim when she formed intent and committed 3 murders on her children. Why? I don't care why.
Listen, there was no record of her being in psychosis. What's up, Devlin Fitzpatrick? Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. If any of you men was to right now go outside your home and play Grand Theft Auto in real life, your ass is going to jail. I don't care if you sit up there and say, yo, I was under psychosis. I don't know. A voice told me to go outside. A voice told me to go outside right now and play GTA in real time. They're going to bury you under the prison. So this is the issue. I'm pointing out the double standard where men typically learn accountability very early in life. We are action oriented because we understand that every action going to have a reaction. Women don't understand that. They don't understand. A lot of women, not all, but a lot of women don't understand accountability. And society is nourishing this demonic spirit. Society is nourishing it. Crying shame.
You see, Lindsay Clancy has a problem. She's currently on trial for premeditatively her 3 kids. Now, the word premeditatively is the key word here. It basically means she thought about it, she planned it, she did it. The defense said that's a damn lie. She did it. She just didn't plan to do it. She was going through psychosis at the time. See, this case is a little more complicated than it may seem, but first, we gotta understand what happened. You see, one day, Patrick, who was Lindsay's husband at the time, was working from home. After he finished working, he said, look, Lindsay, we don't got time to cook, so you want me to go pick something up?
Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I say a voice told me to go outside and play Grand Theft Auto. Technically, that's not premeditated. That's somebody, who, randomly decided to do it. Of course, I'm not doing that, but because I know I'm going to get thrown under the jail, just like Lindsay Clancy should be thrown under. Premeditated when she took her 3 children down them damn steps in the basement. And she looked at those damn exercise bands, nigga, that's premeditated. When she said, oh, I'm going to use the exercise bands to do it. How is that not premeditated? Just like if I go out there and crash out and play GTA, guess what? I just made a decision to do it. That makes it premeditated. So now all we got to do is say we heard voices telling us to do it. They need to get rid of this whole postpartum nonsense. If you're a mother who, trying to take your children out, or you abandon them, or you start to abuse them, listen, you need to go to jail and lose your children. Simple as that. Simple as that. Just an evil person.
Lindsay said, yes, absolutely. So as Patrick's leaving, Lindsay texts him at 5:15 p.m. Remember that time. One of our 3 kids needs medicine from the CVS. Can you pick it up on your way to get food? He said, bet. So Patrick goes to the CVS, picks up the medicine for the kids. He calls Lindsay, says, hey, is this the right thing? She says, yeah. He goes to the restaurant, picks up the food, drives home. When he gets to his house, this is the motto of his house, by the way, everything was quiet. He said that's a little weird, so he starts calling out to everybody, his kids and Lindsay. Nobody answers. Eventually, he finds Lindsay outside on the floor. He asked her what happened. She said she tried to herself. He said, okay, where are the kids? She said they're in the basement. So Patrick goes to the basement and finds the 3 kids, calls the police. Police pull up. Everyone is in agreement of what happened. Patrick said, that happened. Lindsay said, that did happen. Prosecutor said, that happened. Police said that happened. Lindsay's defense said, yeah, everything Patrick said happened. People are even in agreement about what happened before that took place. Lindsay said, I was very, very depressed. I was experiencing psychosis. I was seeking help from mental health professionals, from everyone around her. Patrick said, she was. She absolutely was. Her defense says, yes, she was. The mental health professionals come out and say, yeah. She called me. We prescribed her this. She was absolutely seeking help. Everyone's in agreement with that. But the twist is the defense is saying, well, you see that she was seeking all of this help. That's why she was experiencing a lot of mental health issues. And the prosecution is saying, no. That's just an excuse. The kids, because she wanted to. Now that you know what happened, here's where things start to get wicked. I'm going to give you facts.
Listen. Very disturbing stuff. I wanted to cover this story because this should draw some awareness to where we headed in America. She definitely looks evil. She still looks like a demon. During this trial, she looks completely possessed. I mean, she got that 50-yard stare look. Listen, it is what it is. Demon possession is real. Listen, if you don't want children, don't have them. Control your emotions. Those voices that come up in your mind, understand those are demons, and you got to rebuke those. You got to really rebuke those evil voices. You got to pray. Your prayer life got to be on point. Ask the Most High to guard your mind, renew your mind. If you have certain feelings and emotions, take that up with him. He will help you. When you're in your times alone, cry out to him. Let him know you're going through certain things. The Most High, you're supposed to have a relationship with him like your best friend. And that's just all it is to it, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to cover this particular story. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and hype this stream up as much as you can. Again, this is not the normal time I stream. I just really wanted to cover this story. It was, pressing on my conscience, so I put it out there. But nonetheless, I'll be touching bases with y'all soon. One love to y'all. Stay safe